Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and welcome to the Gameweek 30 episode of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid. We really are getting to the tail end of the season now, guys, so if you're excited about this final period, please do make sure you leave a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Without further ado, guys, a quick look at the rules of the video. Okay, so buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you might be thinking about removing. I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now, but I think they are potential traps that should be avoided. 2 in each category, guys. Let's start off with some buys. Alright, so our first buy is going to be Erling Haaland. So, yes, this is a bit of an interesting one because we're not 100% sure on his fitness status as things stand. But what I can tell you is that seeing Southampton the other day, I feel like, you know, if he is available, maybe you're going to need to get him in. Like, it may be absolutely essential that you get him in. So I feel like a lot of us have sold Erling Haaland recently. I know even more people are selling him right now. He's like one of the most sold players in FPL at the moment as well. But I just feel like he's a player that is absolutely a must own for this final period of the season, particularly if you are free hitting in Game Week 32. But even if you're not, like, if he's fit, if he's available, I know this is a very big if, but it's something we do need to really consider. These next 2 fixtures are just going to be so good for him, and he's going to be like the primary captain option as well, and it's going to be very dangerous to go without him for this period. And then after that, we're looking at 2 more double game weeks for Man City as well, so it's going to be big. 34 double, 37 double. At some point, we're going to have to get him back in, and if he's available, as soon as he's available, that's pretty much the time to get him back in, right? So yeah, got to be a buy as long as he is fit. And my other buy is actually going to be Ollie Watkins. So I was kind of looking through some of the players that you guys could consider buying. Maybe some of you would say that maybe last game week or the week before was the time to buy Ollie Watkins. But I don't think this ship has quite sailed because, as you can see on screen, guys, his numbers are absolutely phenomenal. 4.69 expected goals in the last 5 games. 1 expected assist there. So he's actually underperforming slightly there. He's getting an insane amount of chances to score. And like we keep saying, he seems to be the absolute focal point of this Aston Villa team, which is actually doing quite well at the moment. Next game is against Nottingham Forest at home, and I genuinely do believe that Ollie Watkins could be a captaincy option for this game. I mean, if we look at things very logically here, we've got Watkins, who is quite literally got the best expected points of any player in the Premier League. In fact, even on normal points, I think it's only Martinelli that's beaten him over recent game weeks. Like, Watkins is really consistently performing so well, better than pretty much any other player in FPL. So I do think it's a really good pick. I think it's a really good captain option for Nottingham Forest, particularly if Erling Haaland is kind of unavailable or you're not convinced by some of the Manchester United players, for example. Maybe Watkins is your guy. So I definitely feel like even if you don't have him yet, even if you didn't buy him before, I still think he is definitely worth a look in. He's got a fixture in Game Week 32 as well, which I know is going to be very helpful for those of you guys who have already used your free hit. So all in all, I like Ollie Watkins as a pick, and I would still be buying him even at this time. My first sell is going to be João Felix. So, yes, first of all, yes, that is how you say his name. Don't blame me, blame the Portuguese. But despite the good fixtures, he just has not been the player that we are kind of hoping for recently, has he? Like, he's just not a goal scorer, and I know Chelsea desperately need a goal scorer, and a lot of people, you know, playing FPL were kind of looking at Chelsea's fixtures recently and thinking, hey, maybe Felix could be the answer to this question, but obviously that has not been the case. He's taking a lot of shots, but he's just not getting in any dangerous areas really to take those shots on. You can see only 1.18 expected goals in 5 games. That is not good enough for a forward, especially off this price. It's not like he's very cheap or anything like that. So although I think he'll keep his place, he's just not going to get too much out of opportunities from these games. He's not getting too many opportunities to score. So Wolves away, you know, it's an okay fixture. After that, Brighton, a blank, and then Brentford. So 2 like average, not so great fixtures. Around that blank, it just doesn't seem like there's too much point in keeping Felix or many other Chelsea players in general. Like, I think it's actually okay to sell some Chelsea players. Maybe you could hold Chilwell for 30, you know, or Kepa for 30, or, you know, maybe even Kai Havertz. But then even after that, maybe from Game Week 31 onwards, particularly with that blank in mind, Chelsea players, it might actually be time to go. Like, even though they are going to be doubling up later on in the season, probably game week 37, it's going to be a pretty bad double for them. So actually, in general, I don't think Chelsea are the players anymore, and I feel like we'd be okay to move then on unless something magical happens with a new manager. But right now, I'm just not fully convinced by Chelsea. So therefore, I'm going to say Failish primarily as a sell, but you could also consider selling some of those other players, particularly from game week 31 onwards. My next sell is going to be Alexander-Arnold at Liverpool. There are some murmurings that he could be rotated. Obviously, I'm recording this video before the kind of double game week fixtures have happened, like the second half of the double game week fixtures have happened. So Alexander-Arnold could blank tonight, technically, as I record this video, because he might be rotated. We might see a little bit more rotation there as well. I just feel like for 7.3 million, you're just not going to get good value for money out of, a Liverpool defender in general. Like, they're kind of a middling defence. You know, they haven't got great defensive numbers. Yes, they've kept a few clean sheets recently in some incredibly easy games, but they've still conceded a lot of chances recently. 6.21 expected goals conceded. You can see on screen there, guys. Yeah, actually, we've kind of switched things up for defenders. Probably should mention this as well. So if you look on screen, guys, on the left-hand column, we've got GI, goal involvement, XGI, expected goal involvement, GC, goals conceded, and XGC, expected goals conceded. So I'm going to put this in for defenders and goalkeepers. Let me know if you want to keep this kind of to get a better idea of what defenders are up to and how good defenders are. If you prefer these stats to the more attacking stats for defenders, then yeah, let me know what you think about this change, or if there's any other changes you'd like to make. But yeah, just in general, on Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's very, very expensive. This Arsenal game, we're not expecting Liverpool to keep a clean sheet in there. Even future games, yes, some of these fixtures look okay, but again, not really fully convinced by Liverpool clean sheets. The player is very, very expensive. I think we can get slightly better value for money. You will get similar stats from players around the 4.5 million mark, and I know that a lot of us are going to be looking to free up some budget to try and get the likes of Erling Haaland back in, maybe go for some more Manchester City players, for example, there. You know, if that is the case, we are going to have to downgrade some of our players. And I think Trent Alexander-Arnold, despite the fact that he does have a double in 34, the slight rotation risk he has, the fact you can get, you know, similar stats for much cheaper, I just feel like he is probably worth selling. One of those players you can afford to downgrade. Okay, Marcus Rashford is going to be a keep. Yeah, a lot of people looking to sell him this game week just because they're a little bit disappointed by his recent performances. You can see on screen, guys, he hasn't got a single goal or assist in the last 5 game weeks. But I do feel like it is worth noting that in the past 5 game weeks, he's only played 3 games, and 2 of those fixtures were against Liverpool away, where they lost 7-0, obviously. Let that game very much get away from them. And they also played against Newcastle away. So in general, I kind of do understand why Rashford hasn't got any returns in the last 5 game weeks. It's because it has been kind of tough for him. Add to that as well that we haven't had Casemiro in that Manchester United team, which is going to make such a huge difference. We know it makes a huge difference for Manchester United. And from game week 31 onwards, Casemiro is going to be back. And that Nottingham Forest game in particular in 31, I feel like surely Rashford is going to be a potential captain option in that game when Casemiro is back. I mean, if you look at Rashford's stats right now, 1.21 expected goals. It's not like he's not doing anything. He's just not really got the goals recently. So he's still there or thereabouts. He's still in the right areas. He's still taking shots on, even in these difficult fixtures, even in a reduced amount of fixtures. I feel like Everton at home, Nottingham Forest away, they are very nice fixtures for any player, and Rashford, you can say he is out of form, but he's still been doing well in cup competitions, for example. So it's difficult for me to say Rashford is, you know, a player who must be sold. If you really don't want to buy him, you know, you don't have Rashford and you don't want to buy him, I guess I kind of do understand that. But from game week 31 onwards, provided you do have that free hit for game week 32, I feel like Rashford is really a player that you are going to want to own. So therefore, I am going to put Rashford as a keep. I would not be looking at selling him just yet. Saka, another player a lot of people are looking to sell, and I know why. It's because he didn't start in game week 29, and this always happens. Like when a player gets rested, or you know they have a minor injury or illness in Saka's case, everyone gets very, very scared and assumes that this player is never ever going to play a game of football again in their entire careers. But that's just not going to happen with Saka. Come on, guys, we know this. So Saka's been doing really well, overperforming obviously, but his underlying numbers are still, you know, not too bad. We know he's on penalties as well, and I do feel like this Liverpool game is not so bad for an attacker. You know, if you're an Arsenal attacker, you look at this Liverpool defense, you probably say, all right, we could probably get something out of this game, particularly how well Arsenal have been doing in attack right now. So in general, I would not be looking to sell Arsenal attackers because I do feel like they can get something out of this game. Martinelli, I know not as many people are selling Martinelli, but I feel like Martinelli in particular could have some real joy on the left-hand side of that Liverpool side. So yeah, I think Martinelli could do pretty well. And in general, that West Ham fixture, it's not great. The Southampton fixture after that is pretty good. After that, Arsenal's fixtures do get a lot worse. So if you are kind of thinking about removing Arsenal players at some point, maybe game week 33 is the time to do that. Or, you know, maybe even game week 31 if you've got some other moves in mind and you're free hitting in game week 32. There's going to be different options depending on who you are, what your team is looking like. But in general, I think I would keep Saka for the time being. I don't think there's too many, if you've kept him this far, I don't think there's too many reasons to really sell him. There's not really too many players that I would be willing to sell Saka for, to be honest, at this point. So, in general, he's going to be a keep. Arsenal defenders, I am not so keen on. So I really do see this Liverpool fixture as a fixture where attackers can get something out of this game, but I don't expect Arsenal to keep a clean sheet at all in this game. So once again, if you look at the new defensive stats that I'm putting on defensive players, you can see that Arsenal's expected goals conceded are 5.79. Well, Ben White's expected goals conceded is 5.79. So whilst he's been on the pitch, so 5 starts in the last 5 game weeks, he has had 5.79 expected goals conceded there, which is not really perfect. It's okay, but it's not perfect. So maybe Arsenal have been a little bit lucky to not concede too many goals recently, despite the fact that they've had some pretty good fixtures. But in general, what I really worry about is the lack of Saliba. So Saliba has been ruled out of this game against Liverpool. So we're going into a game against one of the top attacks in the league. You know, we've got a defense that is just kind of performing averagely. If you look across the Premier League, Arsenal are kind of like sitting in the middle, kind of an average defense at the moment in terms of related to other Premier League defenses at the moment, and we're lacking Saliba as well. It's just not the right time to buy Ben White. You know, I know he has scored a couple of goals recently. You know, he scored 2 goals from something like 0.8 XG or something like that. Do you really think he's going to be able to sustain that? I don't really think he is. I can't see him, you know, 2 shots, 2 goals. Do you think Ben White is going to score with every shot he takes for the rest of the season? I don't think so. So, yeah, I know a lot of people are looking at his attacking returns recently, expecting that to continue. Like, unless you think Ben White is literally the best finisher in world football, you know, he's going to eclipse Lionel Messi for his finishing ability. That's not sustainable. And I look at this fixture, I look at the numbers, and I don't think there's a clean sheet going to happen either. So, yeah, I understand why people want Ben White. Maybe after this Liverpool game, a couple of easier fixtures, West Ham and Southampton, they look a little bit nicer for Ben White. Maybe just wait one more game week before bringing him in. But right now, I think I would probably leave it. Avoid. And finally, a controversial one, Kaoru Mitoma. He is going to be at a void for me, and you guys probably think I'm picking on him, but actually, I would say that all Brighton players are avoids right now. I would not be buying McAllister, I would not be buying March either, I would not be buying Purvis Estupiñán, I wouldn't be buying any of those guys, just because these fixtures, these next 2 fixtures are just really quite bad, and I know a lot of people will actually be looking to bench those Brighton players. Now, before I go any further, I do just want to say, because I know people will be angry at me for saying avoid Brighton players, because I know a lot of you guys have Brighton players. I'm not saying to sell them. I'm really not saying to sell them. You can if you want, don't get me wrong, but I will be keeping my triple Brighton up, but my triple up on Brighton, my triple Brighton up. That sounds kind of strange. Yeah, I'll be keeping my triple Brighton. So I'm not saying they're sells, but I wouldn't be buying them either. I'll be looking to bench probably 2 of my Brighton players this game week, to be honest. Tottenham away, Chelsea away. These are really kind of tough games, particularly for attackers. These are like really tough defenses to come up against. So I'm really not expecting, you know, too many goals. Like, what is the best case scenario here? Like 2 or 3 goals over the next, well, 3 game weeks, because we've got that blank in 32 as well. So if you know, Brighton only score 2 or 3 goals in the next 3 game weeks, they are going to be divided between Mitoma, McAllister, you know, March, Welbeck, Estupiñán, you know, some of the midfielders as well. Maybe Lewis Dunk comes in there and gets something. Evan Ferguson as well. They are good. There's going to be a limited amount of goals in the next 3 game weeks, and they are going to be split because there doesn't seem to be like a major talisman in this Brighton side at the moment. So in general, I feel like it's not the best time to buy those Brighton players. If you already have them, fair enough, keep them. You know, there's a good chance they can get, you know, a couple of goals in the next couple of game weeks. I don't know where they're going to come from exactly. Underlying numbers suggest that Mitoma is also overperforming a little bit, but, you know, that's by the by. He's obviously a very, very good finisher as well. But just in general, I'm just not expecting too much from those Brighton guys. So, yeah, would be interested to know what you guys think of that. Would you be buying Brighton players right now if you didn't already have them? And be honest with yourself here. Like, I know I'm a Brighton, you know, triple Brighton owner myself. If I didn't already have them, I would not be buying them. You know, if I was, you know, if I'm not free hitting in game week 32, there is no way I'm buying them. And I think from game week 33 onwards, that is the point where I'm going to be basically putting every single Brighton player in must-buy category, you know, because from 33 onwards, they are going to be super, super essential. But for now, I don't think they are. I think you can wait a little bit longer on these Brighton boys. Okay, guys, so just to summarize, I think it's really difficult to give FPL advice right now because I know so many people are running with slightly different strategies. Some people have already used their free hit. Some people are planning a free hit in 32. Some people are planning a free hit in 34 or maybe even later than that, 37, for example, maybe even 38. So, yeah, look, it's difficult to give, you know, kind of options that suit everyone, so please do take what I say with a pinch of salt and make sure you are using the information and stuff I'm giving to you in these videos with, you know, context of your own team. I think it's really, really difficult to say for sure what anyone should do, really, but all I can do is sit here and give my opinions, and hopefully, if not useful, at least it's kind of interesting or entertaining. You know, I just love FPL. I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well. So, yeah, don't take everything quite literally, I guess. It's going to depend on your team, your setup, and your plans. It's also going to depend on injuries and stuff like that as well, which I didn't even mention. Erling Haaland, he might not even be available, and Tony could get a yellow card in the double game week and be suspended, and everyone has to sell him all of a sudden. But there we go, guys. If you did enjoy this one, please do leave a like, do subscribe if you are new around here as well. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.